Hello everyone and welcome to the Art of Teaching Art. I'm Mrs. Darby and today I'm going to show you how to complete a graphite transfer as a way of transferring an image onto paper so you can complete a more accurate drawing. So this is a really good method of transferring a drawing. It's really easy. Sometimes tracing becomes a little bit tricky, and especially if you were trying to complete something in quite a speedy way, using graphite transfer is a really easy way to transfer the image so you can get on with actually experimenting and exploring your ideas. So things that you'll need for this are either a graphite stick or the thinner version. You can also use a pencil. This is a 4B pencil, so the more graphite that's contained in the lead, the better. So the higher the B, so an 8B is the darkest, but you could also do it with a normal pencil. You will also need something to draw with, a piece of paper, your image, and some masking tape to tape it down. So let's get started. So first up, I'm just shading the back of the image with graphite, just trying to cover all the spaces so that there's plenty to print onto the page. I'm now just sticking some masking tape and attaching that image to the paper, and I'm going over all of the key shapes and lines with my pencil. So really paying careful attention to detail in my work here, making sure I'm adding all the details, especially on those laces and any lines that there are in the shoes as well. This is really important to helping the drawing look realistic. I'm wanting to make sure that I've got all of those details in there, so when I remove the piece of paper with the image on, I've got all the information I need. So just finishing off now, I'm just checking to make sure I've added all of the details by lifting the image up, and there we go, there is my graphite transfer done. So I'm ready to start shading now, so I'm just prepping my image and I've just changed it to black and white on the iPad, and I'm going to use that to work from. I'm starting off with a 4B pencil, and this is one of the jumbo Faber-Castell pencils, and I'm shading the darkest areas first, so the very darkest areas that I can see on the drawing. I've just switched to the thinner 4B pencil to just add a little bit more detail. There aren't many larger areas of shading on this shoe drawing, so it's easier just to use the smaller pencil. So I'm carrying on adding those darker areas. I'm just looking really carefully at my image to do that. And now I'm starting to add some shadows to the shoe, adding that main area at the bottom of the shoe and the shadow below it. So I'm doing that nice and smoothly with my pencil, shading in one direction, making sure that I'm getting a nice even level of tone. So now moving on to just doing some of the laces, the dark areas as well. That's going to really help it look realistic. And just adding the detail element of the shoe, creating that shadow between the two shoes to help it look like the composition. So just shading in the kind of middle tones now, starting from the top of the image. Again, doing that really nice and evenly. You can see here I'm switching between a mechanical pencil and a 4B pencil and a 2B pencil. So I've got a mixture of pencils that I'm using. I'm mostly using the 2B pencil for these middle tones. Feel like that's got enough graphite. I use the mechanical pencil to just sharpen edges, so anything that needs to be nice and crisp, I use the mechanical pencil and the rubber on the end to just remove any little bits of pencil that need to be removed. So I'm doing some of the larger areas now. This works really well in helping you to see that the drawing is more finished. That helps you to work more quickly and more accurately in your work as well. So just adding in the stitching detail. I will go back in with a rubber later on to just finish that off. And now going on to the eyelets as well. So these bits are really important to make sure you get the shine, just the detail there, and then shading in between the laces again. So I'm just paying really careful attention to the image, making sure I've got the dark and light areas, making sure I've got the shadows. That's going to help it look realistic. That's what you're trying to do to make it look 3D, get those lights and shadows in there. And this shoe does have a lot of mid-tones, so I have made some of the dark tones much darker, but we still want to make sure we've got a contrast in those middle tones. So just adding more details around the laces and things now, just some nice smooth shading. So just moving on to the laces now. So I'm just doing a nice middle tone, which I will add a bit more detail to later. I'm making sure I'm getting those highlights on the white areas as well. The important thing with this, with the laces, is the laces must be lighter than the main shoe. They are lighter in the picture. I know at this stage they look about the same tone, but I will lighten them up a bit later with rubber. So just going on to the final couple of laces now. And then I'm going to just darken up some of the areas around the shoe, make that main area of the shoe a lot darker so it's more contrasting. I'm adding any details that I can see on the shoe now. Straight away that makes a difference. So now I'm using the little rubber on the end of the mechanical pencil to add in the stitch lines and go over the laces to just lighten them up a little bit. Then using the mechanical pencil to just neaten. And I'm on to the other shoe. Now this shoe is a lot lighter than the other shoe. It's got the full force of the light on it. So actually I'm going to be a lot lighter in my pencil application here. So again, just going around the laces, taking it one by one, looking carefully at the image and just working downwards. So I'm using the larger 2B pencil to do some nice smooth shading across the laces, and then using the smaller 2B pencil to add some of the shadow here as well. So I just find the combination of those two pencils together really good for getting nice even tone. I don't feel that you need to use the blending stump so much to blend pencil tone. You should be able to do that with your shading and working over the top with a 2B pencil to just merge it together and keep it nice and blended. So just using the mechanical pencil again and doing those bigger areas of shading. So just filling the rest of this in now, adding those final shadows, making sure it's looking like the laces are overlapping. So quite often you'll have a lighter edge next to a darker edge, but you want that soft blend in between. So again, swapping between the pencils, working detail by detail. I find this a lot easier so you know at what stage you're at each time. Just keeping the tone nice and even there. So I'm applying even pressure with my pencil as I move it across the page. And just continuing with the laces. So this shoe is a little bit more difficult because the laces were a bit more twisted and you couldn't see part of the eyelets like you could on the other shoe. So it's always more difficult drawing things that you can't see as well. That's why it's really important to work from a really good quality printed image. That's why I work from the iPad, because the image quality is really high. So just doing the final few laces now, getting in those light tones, getting in those shadows, and just putting the finishing touches. So I'm looking at my work as I go to make sure I'm adding all those final details. You might see sometimes I just scatter across to another bit, and that's because I've looked at that bit on the image and I need to just make a change. So just finishing off the final bit of the shoe, so I'm just adding that final smooth bit of shading along the edge there, making sure again I've got that highlight at the side. I'm refining the dark tones, so I'm making them sharper and making sure I've blended in the areas that need to be blended. Looking across the image, making sure any highlights are nice and sharp, get rid of any mistakes that I've made. And I'm now just using the end of the rubber on the mechanical pencil to just finish off my shading there. So there is my completed drawing. Thank you so much for watching and have a really great day.